we saw the introduction, basic introduction. So what is the invocation and the introduction part we saw, in which we saw the Shabda Pramanam, Anumana Pramanam, and Pratyaksha Pramanam. So which is more accepted, which is more to be taken up from our spiritual growth perspective is on the Shabda Pramanam, or the Pramanam by which we are hearing from the authorities. Okay, so Pratyaksha Pramanam, Anumana Pramanam cannot be accepted because it might have some kind of a fault. Because this entire material world is full of faults, and then the cheating propensity, and then falsity, illusion, and all kinds of basic defects are there. So we are not able to take up either the Pratyaksha Pramanam or the Anumana Pramanam as the basis to get knowledge. Okay, so that is what we saw in the last class. So for example, you have these kinds of examples where if four blind men look towards elephant, they'll have their own perspective, right? So similarly, like this one, and then that's why Prabhupada is mentioning in the introduction about the importance of the disciplined succession or receiving the jnanam from the parampara system. So Siksha Guru gives the spiritual instruction on behalf of Srila Prabhupada, and then the Diksha Guru gives spiritual instruction, inspiration, and formal initiation with the purpose of getting that particular jivatma into the Guru Parampara. I think this is what should be. So what are the basic qualifications of a guru? Like he should be hearing from the Vedic injunctions right from the source. And the second important point from an examination point of view also, this question will be there. What is second important point is the firmly established in Brahman, which means firmly established in the knowledge portion. So the Brahman here means the realization. The realization here means the complete knowledge. So a bona fide spiritual master cannot be just having his or her own concoctions and own mental speculations. It is only towards the understanding by which, the knowledge by which the guru has obtained, and then he has to pass it on. So that's the major two qualifications of a bona fide guru. Okay. So this portion also Prabhupada is emphasizing, mentioning about this Tadvigyartam sa guru neva bhagachidet sam without Brahma nirmam. So this portion also, and then we saw how our ISKCON Guru establishment is there, and then specifically talking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's point on our cooperation and the four defects: commit propensity to commit mistakes, illusion, cheating propensity, and imperfect senses. Okay, so understand the Sanskrit words also: pramada, vipralasa, brahma, etc. Okay. Yeah, these meanings, I think these things we have seen yesterday, last class. So it is depending upon certain propensity that we follow certain procedures. Otherwise, we are tend to commit mistakes. So we might think we are on the right track. Today also, I think Maharaj was mentioning, if you want to go to Kuala Lumpur, on the way there will be some signboards. So if you follow to the signboards, then we are on the right track. If you follow in a different way, then it means we are in a completely wrong direction. So like that, we need to ensure we don't commit mistakes at every stage. Okay. So with all these, the main purpose is with all these deficiencies, we cannot get any perfect knowledge, but at least nor we are ourselves perfect. So the understanding is Isoupanishad gives that basic knowledge by which we accept the conclusion of Vedas. So the conclusion of Vedas is on the Supreme Lord. Okay, so that is the main portion of it. So this is the quick introduction portion. And this also we spoke in detail about the Upanishads, where does the Upanishad comes into picture. This slide where the Shruti Pramanam and Smriti Pramanam, and then under Shruti you have the Vedas, Upavedas, Veda Angas, and then we have the Pancharatras, Vidis, Puranas, Itihasas, and Darshanas. So this is how it is being classified. This is again from a knowledge base, from a structural understanding, how it is being identified. Okay. So, I think we have almost covered all those questions. So today we'll get into lesson 3. Lesson 1 also, invocation. I think this Purnamidam portion also we have covered last class. Okay, the complete whole or the perfect. Purnam means the perfection or the perfectly complete. Okay, so this is the portion that we saw. So let's get into the second sloka. Second sloka is all about Ishavashyam idam sarvam. Okay, so we'll read through the sloka, then we'll come back. Can somebody start reading the translation purport? Ishavashyam idam sarvam yat kinchat jagat yam jagat. Okay, tena tektena bunjitva ma gridak kasyasvit dhanam. Okay, very nice point. Okay, yeah, can start reading.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah,
Hare
go
Krishna,
ahead.
Prabhuji. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: every animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Purport: Vedic knowledge is infallible because it comes down through the perfect disciplic succession of spiritual masters, beginning with the Lord Himself. Since He spoke the first word of Vedic knowledge, the source of this knowledge is transcendental. The words spoken by the Lord are called Aporushaya, which indicates that they are not delivered by any mundane person. A living being who lives in the mundane world has four defects. First, he is certain to commit mistakes. Second, he is subject to illusion. Third, he has a propensity to cheat others. And fourth, his senses are imperfect. No one with these four imperfections can deliver perfect knowledge. The Vedas are not produced by such an imperfect creature. Vedic knowledge was originally imparted by the Lord into the heart of Brahma, the first created living being, and Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples, who have handed it down through history. Since the Lord is Purnam, all perfect, there is no possibility of his being subjected to the laws of material nature, which he controls. However, both the living entities and inanimate objects are controlled by the laws of nature and ultimately by the Lord's potency. This Ishopanishad is part of the Yajur Veda, and consequently it contains information concerning the proprietorship of all things existing within the universe. The Lord's proprietorship over everything within the universe is confirmed in the
Yeah, okay,
seventh
thank
chapter
you.
of the
Just hold
Bhagavad
on.
Gita.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
Okay,
So
Hare
the
Krishna.
first portion of the purport Prabhupada is mentioning, or from the translation, we can clearly understand what is the. So first portion is all about, first is, sloka is all about the invocation from an invocation perspective. It is all about how we accept the Purnam, or the complete or the perfection state. So everything is from that particular source is the source. We are talking about the source of perfection, source of all the completeness is from the Supreme Lord. Okay, so that is the first understanding about the Supreme Lord. Okay, then the next sloka, this is again from how do we you can relate this from Bhagavad Gita perspective. Okay, everything movable, immovable from 7th chapter and 8th chapter, or from the 10th chapter, we can say everything is coming emanating from me, right? Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanita. So everything that is moving, everything is non-moving, everything is under my state, right? So that is what he says. Same thing is also mentioned here. Ishavashyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagat. So whatever animate, inanimate, everything is controlled and owned by God. First point. Second point is very important, because if you understand that everything is owned by the Lord, so we should accept only things, we should accept things which are tektena bunjita. Tektena bunjita means whatever is apart, whatever is the quota or whatever is the portion that is allotted for us, we are supposed to use it, or we are supposed to make use of it. Okay. Of the dhanam. What is that dhanam? The dhanam is nothing but what is the dhanam here? Anybody can say what is the dhanam? What is the dhanam word here? Ma gridha kasya swit dhanam. Swit dhanam means, any quick thought? What is the word
The
dhanam?
one which is allotted to one.
Yeah, that's what is the dhanam? Yeah, that's correct. That one is allowed, but
The material opulences.
more specifically. Not the material
Whatever is
opulences.
required to live,
Things to,
right?
things to
Whatever is
eat.
required to live in this material world.
Correct, correct. The material nature, the entire prakriti, the entire creation. It is not about the opulences, it is about the entire creation. Like we see the entire material world, we see the ground, we see the Panchabhutas, we see the trees, we see the land, we see the so many material objective objects or material things, natural creations that has been there. It is all dhanam. Okay, the entire Prakriti is Dhanam, or nothing but the wealth of the Supreme Lord, or the energy manifestation that can be seen. So, in that, what is being told, Bunjita, Tyaktena Bunjita, Kritana Grisa. So, whatever is required for us alone, that particular quota alone, we have to say. For example, if we are in a particular forest or in a particular Sahara forest or any kind of a big forest, so every animal will have their own quota. Every animal will have their own space, own way of hunting, own way of eating, own way of living, and then they will manage it within the forest. But only thing is, because humans are so greedy, humans are so exploiting this human or the mother nature. Then because of the exploitation, we are going beyond our quota. So this material world is for everybody. It's not only for human beings. So it is material world is for everybody. Every living entity has got the right to live. Every living entity has got the right to do worship. Every living entity has got the right to go back. So there is no doubt about it. So that is why the Supreme Lord has provided all the facilities for everybody according to their place, time, circumstances, their capacity. The facility is there for everybody to exist. Okay. But however, when somebody is going beyond the quota, then that is because of their ignorance, and that is why suffering happens. Okay. So there is a definite word, live and let live. Right. So that is what is the most important point. And then that the quota portion. Okay. Taktyana. Tektva means giving up. Certain things alone you hold it, certain things you already giving up. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please continue. Anybody? Second paragraph. Who wants to read? Nobody wants to read?
Okay, I read it. The Lord's proprietorship, say Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Okay. The Lord's proprietorship over everything within the universe is confirmed in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita 7.4 through 5, where where para and apara prakriti are discussed. The elements of nature, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, all belong to the Lord's inferior material energy, apara prakriti, whereas the living being, the organic energy, is his superior energy, para prakriti. Both of these prakritis or energies are emanations from the Lord, and ultimately he is the controller of everything that exists. There is nothing in the universe that does not belong to either the para or the apara prakriti. Therefore, everything is the property of the supreme being.
Okay. So everything.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Because the supreme being, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the complete person, he has complete and perfect intelligence to adjust everything by means of his different potencies. The supreme being is often compared to a fire, and everything organic and inorganic is compared to the heat and light of that fire. Just as the fire distributes energy in the form of heat and light, the Lord displays his energy in different ways. He is thus he thus remains the ultimate controller, sustainer, and dictator of everything. He is the possessor of all potencies, the knower of everything, and the benefactor of everyone. He is full of inconceivable opulence, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation.
Thank you. Okay. So both the para prakriti and apara prakriti. Apara prakriti is which is not seen, and para prakriti is that whatever we see, right? So the inferior and the superior energy. From 7th chapter, 8th chapter also, all those specific points by which we are able to realize the supreme Brahman. Okay, knowledge of the absolute truth, attaining the supreme, right? So that is what is more important, and the complete ownership of the supreme Lord. Okay. So that is which is the word Ishavashams idam sarvam yat kinchat. So that first two lines is what is being talked. Okay, Ishavasham, everything is controlled by sarvam yat kinchat jagat time. Okay, jagat. So whatever the animated in portion. And now the next portion is talking about what are we supposed to do. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is proprietor of anything. One should accept only things that are set aside by the Lord as his quota. The cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink that milk. She eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. Such is the arrangement of the Lord. Thus, we should be satisfied with those things. He has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belong to. For example, our dwelling, which is made of earth, wood, stone, iron, cement, and so many other material things. If we think in terms of Isoupanishad, we must know that we cannot produce any of these building materials ourselves. We can simply bring them together and transform them into different shapes by our labor. The laborer cannot claim to be a proprietor of a thing just because he has worked hard to manifest it. So again, Prabhupada is making it very clear that we are not the owners, or we cannot produce anything, right? So whenever I say we can only produce our other set of human beings, but whatever is required for other beings, we will never be able to produce. It is all at the Lord's will. Whatever being brought is all being utilized only. Okay, so he's giving this very nice example of cow, right? So cow eats all kinds of grass and lowest kind of plant and all, but still cow gives the highest protein, highest strength energy of milk, right? And that milk is being consumed by others. So whatever I take is not necessarily I have to get it back, right? So that is how you see. Even all other wild animals also, whatever they take is not whatever they want to give it back. So even though they are in a lower level, they are able to give a higher this one. Similarly, our thing is like whenever we try to take something back, take something from the material nature, we are supposed to give it back. Okay, that is the understanding. Okay. Yeah. Somebody wants to read this big para? No?
In modern society,
Hmm.
there is always a great quarrel between the laborers and the capitalist. This quarrel has taken an international shape, and the world is in danger. Men face one another in enmity and snarl just like cats and dogs. Sri Isoupanishad cannot give advice to the cats and dogs, but it can deliver the message of Godhead to man through the bona fide acharyas, holy teachers. The human race should take the Vedic wisdom of Sri Isoupanishad and not quarrel over material possessions. One must be satisfied with whatever privileges are given to him by the mercy of the Lord. There can be no peace if the communist or capitalist or any other party claims proprietorship over the resources of nature, which are entirely the property of the Lord. The capitalist cannot curb the communist simply by political maneuvering, nor can the communist defeat the capitalist simply by fighting for stolen bread. If they do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the property they claim to be their own is stolen. Consequently, they will be liable for punishment by the laws of nature. Nuclear bombs are in the hands of both communist and capitalist, and if both do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that these bombs will ultimately ruin both parties. Thus, in order to save themselves and bring peace to the world, both parties must follow the instructions of Sri Isoupanishad.
Very nice. Thank you, Pantaji. So very importantly, last line. So whatever be it, the instruction of Isoupanishad has been followed. What is the instruction? Like everything belongs to the Supreme Lord, and whatever is my quota, I will use it. That's all. Whatever is destined to me, whatever is supposed to be, whatever is supposed to be based on my qualification, I am supposed to get this. I will only utilize whatever I get. Right? So that is how we try to take it up and then try to utilize for our own benefit. Okay, so Prabhupada is talking about all this history of capitalist versus communist. So capitalist main goal is to get more and more proprietorship and make ownership. So all the big corporates, big giants, all the zamindars, everybody are more from understanding of a capitalist. And then communist is somebody like at a labor level, they want to see everything gets equally divided, everything gets equally shared with everybody. No one is the particular owner. So everything belongs to everybody. So that is how it is being categorized. So both has got plus and minus, but what Prabhupada is making is one level above that. So both has got advantages and disadvantages depending upon the time and depending upon the country, depending upon the social behavior and awareness of the society. But Prabhupada is going one above step where he's saying, no, nothing belongs to ourselves. It all belongs to Supreme Lord, and everybody can be shared. So both it includes. It's an inclusive of both capitalism and communism. Okay, so because Krishna conscious is kind of more or less inclusive society. Inclusive society means everybody are welcome. So there's nothing all this particular thing, that particular. There's no stoppage of saying no, this particular people is not required. So everybody are welcome everybody or this one. But at the same time, they should know what is that they are supposed to do, or that they're supposed to have their quota. So that is what is more important. And this sloka is emphasizing that particular section. Okay. Yeah, it's good. Okay, next. Two paragraphs.
The standard of life for human beings cannot be applied to animals. The tiger does not eat rice and wheat. The tiger does not eat rice and wheat or drink cow's milk because he has been given food in the shape of animal flesh. Among the many animals and birds, some are vegetarians and others are carnivorous, but none of them transmigrate the laws of nature which have been ordained by the will of the Lord. Animals, birds, reptiles, and other lower life forms strictly adhere to the laws of nature. Therefore, there is no question of sin for them, nor are the Vedic instructions meant for them. Human life alone is a life of responsibility. It is wrong, however, to think that simply by becoming a vegetarian one can avoid transgressing the law of nature. Vegetables also have life, and while it's nature's law that one living being is meant to feed on another, for human beings the point is to recognize the Supreme Lord. Thus, one should not be proud of being strict vegetarian. Animals do not have developed conscience by which to recognize the Lord, but a human being is sufficiently intelligent to take lessons from the Vedic literatures and thereby know how the laws of the nature are working and derive profit out of such knowledge. If a man neglects the instructions of the Vedic literatures, his life becomes very risky. A human being is therefore required to recognize the authority of the Supreme Lord and become his devotees. He must offer everything for the Lord's service and partake only of the remnants of the food offered to the Lord. This will enable him to discharge his duty properly. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.26, the Lord directly states that he accepts vegetarian food from the hands of a pure devotee. Therefore, a human being should not only become a strict vegetarian, but should also become a devotee of the Lord, offer the Lord all his food, and then partake of such prasadam or the mercy of the Lord. Only those who act in this way can properly discharge the duties of human life. Those who do not offer their food to the Lord eat nothing but sin and subject themselves to various types of distress, which are the results of sin. Bhagavad Gita 3.13.
Thank you, Mataji. So in Tamil, there's a proverb. Thank you, Mataji. So in Tamil, I don't know whether in Hindi, in other languages, they have this proverb. What is it? Puli pasichalum pulla tingade. I mean, which means in the forest, how much ever hunger or how much ever hungry the tiger is, it won't go and eat the grass. So it will still wait. It will still eat only whatever it is supposed to eat. It will not just like that eat whatever it gets to eat. Okay. So it's a very nice proverb, which means it knows its quota, it knows its food, and it will take only that food. Even they will say, right, after when a lion or a tiger, after having its full meal, whatever a deer are going, let's say, it will not bother because at that moment it is not hungry. So it will never try to say, okay, let me hunt it now and then eat it later. It will never do that. So nature by itself has created this kind of a specific way of functioning, and then that is why coexisting is happening still very nicely. But because of human exploitation, human greed, and this one, we have started exploiting, we are trying to be greedy, we are trying to eat anything and everything, all those things. Okay, so that is why none of them transgress the laws of nature. So except for humans, none of them transgress the laws of nature, right? So that very nice point. And even among the vegetarian, they'll say you have to eat this and all. But what Prabhupada's recommendation is, one should not be thinking that, oh, I'm a strict vegetarian, I'm a vegan, I will not this. Okay, so those are all kind of only outer way of saying I'm more from a health perspective or more from a social status perspective. But what is more important is how that particular devotee accepts the will of the Supreme Lord and then becomes his devotee. So he accepts everything for Krishna and then take part the prasadam in offering to him. So whenever it is offered, then the karma portion is also gone, as well as he is ensuring that he is utilizing his quota perfectly. Also, is not transgressing, or he is not going beyond his limit to do any kind of an activity, right? So this is very nicely specifically mentioned. So two parts of the sloka. First part is about establishing the Supreme Lord as the controller. He is the supreme authority, and everything belongs to him. He is the owner, he is the proprietor. Okay. So the Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Mahesham. So he is the proprietor, he is the enjoyer. Second portion is, however, because this material nature or this material manifestation is also for the human, or sorry, for all the living entities, everybody should utilize yet kinchit tyakta yet, so whatever their particular quota they have to use. Okay. So this is how it seems. Okay. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience to the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Disobeying the laws of nature or the order of Lord brings ruin to the human beings. Conversely, one who is sober, who knows the laws of nature and who is not influenced by unnecessary attachment or aversion, is surely recognized by the Lord and thus becomes eligible to go back to God and back. So what is our eligibility? Our eligibility is when we follow the laws of nature, when we are not influenced by any kind of an material attachment, then that qualification or that recognition will make us clearly understand. Okay. Clear? The sloka is clear. See, my only suggestion is, it is all looking very abstract and theoretical, but that's okay. But at least just note down the sloka and then quick points. Okay. So sometime later, what is meant by Purna Vidam sloka means, at least you should know it is all talking about the whole, it's talking about the complete self. Similarly, the Ishavasham slokam also, when somebody is talking, or whenever you want to refer about the sloka, whenever you are giving, for example, whenever you are giving a lecture on Chatur Sloki Bhagavad Gita, you can definitely refer to this Ishavasham sloka. Okay. So whenever you're talking about 7th chapter, 8th chapter, where it is about the material manifestation, the cosmos creation, those things and all, you can refer to this sloka. Okay. So either way, you can correlate. So that is why from the Bhakti Shastri perspective, why are we bringing this particular isoupanishad into the course curriculum is for this only. Okay. So just note down at least 1 or 2 lines, a summary of this particular sloka, then that will be useful. And what Prabhupada says, Prabhupada is making it very clear, and he's giving some specific examples also. He's giving examples about quota. He's giving examples about communism versus capitalism. He's giving examples about the different animals. And also finally, what is the devotee standpoint. Okay. Clear? The sloka has any doubt? First sloka? Before I get into the
Prabhuji, silly question. This paragraph, the intelligent, I think the 5th paragraph, I think. So one of the line it says, the cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink that milk. She eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. So maybe I just wanted to check, maybe anywhere written somewhere in Vedas or maybe Vedic scriptures or literature that this is food, because I think typically what we see in nature is every living being, whatever is produced, like human milk is produced for human kids, so but we don't feed it to the cats and dogs. Likewise the cow milk will typically be for the cow's calves, right? So where it is written that her milk or cow milk is actually designated as food for human
how
beings.
do we see this is what is the context behind Prabhupada writing is, see, if you categorize little one level above, yes, one way you say cow's milk is only for the calves, but beyond even if you go to any kind of goshala, what the goshala person will see is the cow produces more milk than the intake capacity of the calf. Number one. Okay. So for example, today cow produces 5 liters in the morning or 3 liters in the afternoon. Definitely the calf will not be able to take, definitely will not be able to take. What will happen is, it will just, it will continue from its order, if you don't milk the cow, automatically it will go waste. Okay. If from your context perspective, number one.
Understand. Okay.
Number two, when you divide the animals as domestic animals and the wild animals, there is no question about wild animals at all. Like, for example, whatever milk comes out of from any other mammal animal, it is only for its calves. There is no doubt about it. No other animal drinks other animals' milk. Okay. However, when it comes for domestic animals and specifically cow, Goraksha, which is again specifically understood from social a taming or an animal, that is where we see that we take cow's milk, and that is where Krishna demonstrated. It is not there's nothing to be specifically mentioned in Vedas, or nothing to be. It is directly from the Go Rakshyam, Go Varnam. Krishna himself is called as Govinda. Okay, so it is directly demonstrated by the Supreme Lord himself that cow grazing, cow production is part of the human society. Okay, so but nowhere it is mentioned this grazing, this kind of animal, this one for others and all, nothing, right? But in the society, cow grazing is cow production is part of our human. Okay, so which means when we take care of cows, automatically cows will be very happy and they give more milk, and then we are always happy to share mother's milk. So cow is also considered as one of our mothers, right?
Understand, Prabhuji. Likewise, we also see people taking goat milk, camel
Yeah,
milk.
that is
and
all extra, additional. That's what cow milk. They'll say camel milk, goat milk. So these are all the place on the situations and the Desha Kalapatra. For example, if you are in Himalayas, if you are in a particular location where you don't get really cow, then that's okay. You graze goats. You are living in a desert where it is very difficult to get other animals. That is why camels came into picture. So then we are trying to utilize. So that is how we see from a context perspective.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
But
So, and Ayurveda
Ayurveda also.
refers, while it doesn't say directly you can consume, but then Ayurveda says
Yeah,
a
correct.
different qualities of cow milk.
Correct.
And Prabhupada also, sorry for the echo, Prabhu. Prabhupada also refers in many places that how the most important, vitamins or nutrients for the brain development is coming from cow milk.
Nice point. Very good point. So, see, you asked Vedas, no? So, Ayurveda directly brings all the Panchagavyam. When you say Panchagavyam, you know, right? So, Panchagavyam is made up of all the cow things from cow, and ghee, for example, is all from. Okay, good. Thank you. Let's keep going. Okay, second sloka. Okay. Can somebody read the translation? You can.
Hey, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Mataji.
One may aspire to live for 100 years if he continuously goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. Should I read the purport also,
Yeah,
Prabhuji?
the first portion of the.
No one wants to die. Everyone wants to live as long as he can drag on. This tendency is visible not only individually but also collectively in the community, society, and nation. There is a hard struggle for life by all kinds of living entities, and the Vedas say that this is quite natural. The living being is eternal by nature, but due to his bondage in material existence, he has to change his body over and over. This process is called transmigration of the soul or karma bandhana, bondage by the one's work. The living entity has to work for his livelihood because that is the law of material nature. And if he does not act according to his prescribed duties, he transgresses the law of nature and binds himself more and more to the cycle of birth and death in many species of life.
Thank you, Mataji. So next sloka, next level he's coming is all about the karma portion. Like for example, how do we understand the laws of karma? Okay, first second sloka is about laws of nature. Okay, so you can relate to that also. The Ishavashyam Vidam Sarvam is all about laws of nature, and this is about laws of karma. So again, how do we relate from Bhagavad Gita? All the third chapter, fifth chapter, and fourth chapter, the content is all brought out here in one sloka. Okay, Kurvan eva hi karmani jigvesha chatam samaha. Okay, chatam samaha means satam, or you say satam samaha. Okay, satam samaha means 100 years. Samaha evam tvayi nanyeto asti na karma lipyate nare. So there is no other way. Na karma lipyate. So we all know, like now in third chapter it says na hi kastit shanamapi. This human birth has to work. Okay? So anyway you have to work. And I think yesterday Maharaj also was mentioning very nicely. Singapore is famous for working. All so till 70 years or 70 days, if you're able to work till 75 years also, you can work. Okay. in one of my workshop, when I went into this SBS transit workshop, now I saw somebody working for, he was saying, I am in this particular location for 43 years. I will work. So he joined in 60s, and when he was young, now still is working. He's almost 73 or 74. Okay. And still he is the logistics personal head, and then he's managing. And so he's almost 45 years completed. So, but I'm asking, how long do you continue? Until and unless the management kicks me out, I'll continue to work. I was like, oh God. So that is how the society is being driven. Like that specifically, we know in our current Singapore society, everybody has to work because everybody has to survive. So kurvan eva hi karmani. Okay. So one's desire to live has to force him to work. It's not that going for office or something. Even for a normal person, even after retirement, what does it mean? He has to undergo certain activities. He cannot just simply say, no, I will not work at all. Okay. So there is no anyata. There is nothing that can be kind of an alternative. Prabhupada is using a word anyata. Okay, there is no alternative at all. He has to continue. So that is how strongly this particular bandha, this particular jivatma is binded to the nature. Okay, so prakriti, jivatma. So prakriti has got its own laws of nature, and this particular jivatma has to bind, has to abide by that. So when it is going to abide by that, what does the jivatma do? It has to follow laws of karma. Okay, so laws of nature, prakriti, and when the human beings come into that prakriti, it has to follow both laws of karma, because it has to survive, because it has to live, it will continue to live. So it has to follow certain rules and regulations. At the same time, it has to be abided by the laws of nature also. Clear? So one step, and then on top of it is the next step. Clear? What is the bottom? What is the basic foundation? Basic foundation is the Purnam portion. Okay. So I'll just give you the relative understanding of the introduction versus the first sloka versus the second sloka. So what is the first, second, and the foundation? Foundation sloka or the invocation sloka is the Purnam, the complete whole or the complete perfection. Everything belongs to him. Everything is emanating from him. Okay. Everything is from him, and still he is the most perfect, most complete. Number one. Okay. Number two is everything is emanating from him. Everything belongs to him. And there is some portion which is given for you as quota. Okay, this is entire manipulation. So that is the second understanding, Ishavasya. And top of that is loss of karma. So, okay, you are supposed to use this particular material nature in this way. You can work on it. You can continue to work. For whose benefit? For your own benefit. Okay. So loss of karma applies only for that particular human being. So all the living entities, whomsoever is performing karma with a realized consciousness, with realized understanding of that karma, they're binded or bounded by that condition. Which means all the other living entities are not binded by loss of karma. Only a higher conscious human being or human life of form of living entities are binded by the loss of karma. Clear? So you understand the ground, the foundation, then the first sloka, then the second sloka. Clear? So this is the kind of introduction or an understanding mindset you should have about the second sloka. So there is a gradual way of how Isoupanishad is being encapsulated, I'll say. Meaning kind of how it is being brought up. Okay. Let's keep going, then we will. This particular sloka is all about karma portion. Okay. Next, second chapter, second paragraph, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Other life forms are also subject to the cycle of birth and death, but when the living entity attains a human life, he gets a chance to get free from the chains of karma. Karma, akarma, and vikarma are very clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita. Actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma, and actions that are performed through the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower life forms are called vikarma. Of these three types of action, that which frees one from the bondage to karma is preferred by intelligent men. Ordinary men wish to perform good work in order to be recognized and achieve some higher status of life. in this world or in heaven, but more advanced men want to be free altogether from the actions and reactions of work. Intelligent men well know that both good and bad work equally bind one to the material miseries. Consequently, they seek that work which will free them from the reactions of both good and bad work. Such liberating work is described here in the pages of Sri Ishopanishad.
Okay, thanks, Madhu. So very clear, right? So this portion of paragraph we have very clearly understood what is karma, vikarma, and then what is that work will bind us or will not bind us or will take us, liberate us from the material world. Okay, somebody else. I don't know why so many 19 of us are there, but only few of them are reading.
Yes, Guruji.
Good.
The instructions of Sri Ishopanishad are more elaborately explained in the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes called the Gita Upanishad, the cream of all the Upanishads. In the Bhagavad Gita 3.9 to 16, the personality of Godhead says that one cannot attain the state of Naishkarmya or Akarma without executing the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedic literature. This literature can regulate the working energy of a human being in such a way that he can gradually realize the authority of the Supreme Being. When he realizes the authority of the personality of Godhead, Vasudev or Krishna, it is to be understood that he has attained the stage of positive knowledge. In this purified stage, the modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, cannot act, and he is able to work on the basis of Naishkarmya. Such work does not bind one to the cycle of birth and death.
Okay, clear. So when somebody performs activities as akarma or naishkarmya without any kind of a offering everything to the Lord, right? So that is where the solution is, where when he realizes that everything belongs to Krishna, I will just perform these activities without even beyond the modes. Like whenever there is this rajoguna, tamoguna, satvaguna portion, that is also getting above the particular category, and then he is able to do it. Okay, clear. Okay, next.
Factually, no one has to do anything more than to render devotional service to the Lord. In the lower stage of life, however, one cannot at all adopt the activities of devotional service, nor can one completely stop reactionary work. A conditioned soul is accustomed to working for sense gratification, for his own selfish interest, immediate or extended. An ordinary man wants to work for his own sense enjoyment. And when the principle of sense enjoyment is extended from the individual to include the collective society, nation, or humanity in general, it assumes various attractive names such as altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, humanitarianism, etc. These isms are certainly very attractive forms of karma bandha, the bondage of one's own work. But the Vedic instruction of Sri Ishopanishad is as follows. If you actually live for any of the above isms, make them God-centered. There is no harm in becoming a family man, an altruist, socialist, communist, nationalist, or humanitarian, provided all such activities are executed in relation with Ishavasya, the God-centered conception.
Thank you, Balaji. Very nice. So all these isms, can somebody find out what is altruism? Google and find out. Okay. So this altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, humanism, all these isms, I think from an examination point of view, there's one question about these isms. Okay. So you shouldn't work for their own self-interest. So no. So in fact, this line is very nice. No one has to do anything more than rendering devotional service. If we just do devotional service, that is more than enough. Actually, we are not able to do devotional service itself. So this is like going beyond it. Forget about it. So if you are just able to do devotional service, that is more than enough. Okay. So however, in the lower stage of your life, one cannot evenly adopt to. So in the lower life, we have to follow a certain way. And then we are more destined towards performing karma kanda. Karma kanda means more of performing sense gratificatory activities. Okay, so conditioned soul is accustomed for working on senses. So whatever is being told through the Vedas, following certain procedures and principles, all the senses are being fully satisfied. But beyond that is towards performing devotional service. Okay, so that is why Prabhupada is mentioning there is no harm in becoming a family man. This socialism, but whatever is, when if it is all related to Krishna, one Ishvara or one Ishavashyam. So the concept of Ishavashyam has to be self kind of centered, and then all the other things will fall within that particular. Okay, good. Okay, next.
In the Bhagavad Gita 2.40, Lord Krishna states that God-centered activities are so valuable that just a few of them can save a person from the greatest danger. The greatest danger of life is the danger of gliding down again into the evolutionary cycle of birth and death among the 84 lakh species. If somehow or other a man misses a spiritual opportunity afforded by his human form of life and falls down again into the evolutionary cycle, he must be considered most unfortunate. Due to his defective senses, a foolish man cannot see that this is happening. Consequently, Sri Isoupanishad advises us to exert our energy in the spirit of Ishavasya. Being so engaged, we may wish to live for many, many years. Otherwise, a long life in itself has no value. A tree lives for hundreds and hundreds of years, but there is no point in living a long time like trees, or breathing like bellows, or begetting children like hogs and dogs, or eating like camels. A humble, God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal host of life dedicated to godless altruism or socialism.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice sloka. Today also in Bhagavatam class today, Maharaj took 551. Okay. Deho bacham nirlokam. So the very nice sloka where Lord Rishabhadev is instructing his family members. Okay. Deho bacham nirlokam kaschit. So he's talking about this hogs and dogs portion. So there's no point living like hogs and dogs. And in fact, there is no point living like trees also. If you want to live for 100 years also, what is the point if it is of adding no value at all, right? So this again, this is all demonstrated by our great acharyas. Right? So the first point. Second point is all about this God-centered activities among the 84 lakh species. What is that we try to follow? And then last class we saw, right now, if you are able to get this human form, that itself is the greatest thing. And then if you don't follow it, then we will fall back into the evolutionary cycle. And then coming back will be much more very difficult. So the spirit of Ishavasam should be always be focused on. Nice point. Good. A human God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hoax of life. This example, I think this, what is his name? This Michael Jackson. Some years back he died. But if you ask him what they were trying to do, he was trying to do so many plastic surgery, this surgery, that surgery and all to ensure longevity of his life. There are so many other models, so many other human species, people try to increase their longevity of the human life, but there's no use of it, right? After some time, anyway, definitely they will go away. So it is just mere waste. Good. Okay. Last two paragraphs. What is the sloka? I know 240. Which sloka? Swalpamapasya modo trayato mahato bayat. Even with the greatest mahato bayat, even it is the greatest fear, that will be swalpamapasya. If you are able to do any small activity also, Krishna will definitely help you to come out of any kind of big dangers. Right. Good. Thank you, Mataji. Go.
When altruistic activities are executed in the spirit of Sri Isoupanishad, they become a form of karma yoga. Such activities are recommended in Bhagavad Gita 18.5 to 9, for they guarantee their executor protection from the danger of sliding down into the evolutionary process of birth and death. Even though such God-centered activities may be half finished, they are still good for the executor because they will guarantee him a human form in his next birth. In this way, one can have another chance to improve his position on the path of liberation. How one can execute God-centered activities
is elaborately explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rup Goswami. We have rendered this book into English as the Nectar of Devotion. We recommend this valuable book to all who are interested in performing their activities in the spirit of Sri Isoupanishad. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother. So, how can one execute God-centered activities? Where it is in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? What is that God-centered activities?
First sloka Anyabhilashita Shubha.
Okay, somebody else. Elaborately explained in Bhakti Rasamrita.
So 64 items of devotional service.
Yeah, correct. Thank you, Mother. So all those 64 types of devotional service, deity worship activities. So whatever karma that you're trying to do is all kind of centered towards that particular 64 different types of activity. You have to do these things. You don't do these things. You have to ensure these things are being properly taken care. You are ensuring properly. Don't do these things. So whatever be it, all those 64 type of activities, specifically referred from Varaha Puran, specifically referred from Narada Pancharatra Vidhi, is all about God-centered activity. Okay, the deity worship portion. So what Prabhupada is saying, if you are able to do devotion service, that itself is more than enough. Nice. This sloka is all about karma. So understand the Purnamidam philosophy, then the Ishavashyamidam philosophy, and above Ishavashyam philosophy is the karma philosophy, the laws of karma. The Ishavashyam philosophy is laws of nature. Laws of karma is all about this particular section. It is not only about following laws of nature, but transgressing the laws of nature is much more good. Like transgressing in the sense, getting into activities which is not binding into the laws of nature. We are following laws of nature, one step, correct. But what is the next step is following laws of nature. How do I go out? My goal is that one, okay. It is not that I'll simply follow certain rules and regulations, I'll simply continue to live in this particular material world. Okay? So laws of nature recommends both. Recommends what? Try to do certain activities which is not binding for you. If you are trying to do activities which is binding for you, that is already, you're already bounded. It is like just simply jailed. Okay. But laws of nature gives that option also. You do this activity in this way, that by serving Krishna, then you are free. Okay. So what is that required for us? It is to become for us to free. Okay. So accordingly, we need to see. Laws of nature gives all the three definitions same way. Eat in this way, you're binded. Eat in this way, you're definitely binded. Eat in this way, you're not binded, even for a simple eating action. Right? So accordingly, we need to see which way of eating, and then accordingly we have to go out. Okay. Clear? Any questions on this sloka? Kurvan iva karmani. Na karma lipyate nare. Nare means nara or human being. Yesterday, Maharaj was talking about Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Everybody were looking here and there. Oh, Maharaj is going to ask some specific question, and then just now we finished the exam. I don't know if somebody had experienced that. Huh? It's talking about a human animal life. Okay. Quickly, these are all small slokas. We can quickly finish it. Maybe we'll take two more slokas. We'll try to finish today. Okay. Asurya nama nate loke andena tamasa vritaha tamaste pritya bigachanti eke chatma hanohata janaha. The killer of the soul, whomever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the world of faithless, full of darkness. So this is all about akarma. Sorry, vikarma. Right? So the killer of the soul, who may be must enter. So this is all talking about nice points. Okay, let's get into the understanding. What is meant by the asurik bhavam? Okay, the asurik bhavam is nothing but the swabhava in which we are trying to get into more of bodily consciousness, or consciousness by which I identify myself more from a sense gratification perspective, not in terms of the jivatma or the individual Sachidananda. Okay, so you animals only will have that more of bodily consciousness. Perfect. Translation, can somebody read?
The killer of the Go ahead.
The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Purport. Should I read the purport, Prabhupada?
Yes, first paragraph.
Human life is distinguished from animal life due to its heavy responsibilities. Those who are cognizant of these responsibilities and who work in that spirit are called suras, godly persons, and those who are neglectful of these responsibilities or have no information of them are called asuras, demons. Throughout the universe, there are only these two types of human beings. In the Rig Veda, it is stated that the suras always aim at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu and act accordingly. Their ways are as illuminated as the path of the sun.
Okay, thanks, Pandit. So last class, I think in Bhagavatam, we saw in which we in one section where Prabhupada is mentioning about called a sense of responsibility. Sense of responsibility as a human being is very important, where Lord Brahma himself demonstrated that during his sleep also he is thinking about the Lord. So he is also afraid of about illusion energy, and he prays that he doesn't get into illusion energy. So which means he's getting ready. He's always ready for any calamity. He's always ready for the next life. So in that particular purpose, Prabhupada is mentioning every human being should be ready for the next life. Also act according with the sense of responsibility for that particular human form of life. Okay. So sense of responsibility is also brought out here, and it mentioned very specifically human life is distinguished with heavy responsibility. So responsibility is not that I am something given to you and then you start acting on it. By birth itself, you have a responsibility, because Jivatma, if in any other form of body, will not be able to come out, right? So once the Jivatma gets a human body, by default, it has got a responsibility. What is the responsibility? Only in human form, you will be able to do devotional service. You will be able to do some akarma activities. You will be able to get liberation. So that itself is binded. That itself is kind of destined for us to understand that human form of life has a very specific responsibility. What is that specific responsibility? Is to understand what is the goal of life, understand who we are, understand the Supreme Lord, establish that relationship, perform devotional service, and go back to God. Okay, so that is the main point that we saw in the last one of the Bhagavad sessions. So this is how it is, and this particular sloka is all about focusing only on that particular section. If somebody is not able to identify themselves as a Jivatma, so only the asuras will kill the soul. Will means what? They will never asurik bhava, which will never think about, oh, there is a Jivatma sitting inside this. They will just think, my body, I'm enjoying, I want to live. Okay, nice. So that is asurik bhava. Okay. Yeah. Achyuta. Gaura, you have a doubt?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
I heard about that. If he does not utilize that facilities that is given to him by Lord Krishna when he comes into this material human body, but there in the Bhagavad Gita it said that a soul is not, its soul is eternal.
Correct. Soul is eternal. Soul is eternal, and that soul has taken a human body. Accordingly, because it has taken the human body, it has to utilize that facility properly. If the same soul has taken a different body, like a cow or any other plant or an animal, it may not have that facility. It may not have that facility. Here means the intelligence. Facility here means the knowledge provided by the Lord. Facility here means the consciousness or the higher consciousness provided by the Lord, or the facility by which we are able to utilize them effectively. So those are the things. It is not only the facility of the material things, facility of the knowledge, facility of the consciousness also. Okay, clear? For example, animals also have consciousness, but not like human consciousness. So which means it has got a higher facility. So we have to utilize that intelligence in that form, in that human form, and then go back. Okay. Yeah, read the second paragraph. You read. Gaura, you yourself read.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, from intelligent humans, intelligent human beings must always remember that the soul obtains a human form after an evolution of many millions of years in the cycle of transmigration. The material world is sometimes compared to an ocean, and the human body is compared to a solid boat designed especially to cross this ocean. The Vedic scriptures and the Acharyas or saintly teachers are compared to expert boatmen. The facilities of the human body are compared to favorable breezes that help the boat ply smoothly to its desired destination. If with all these facilities a human being does not fully utilize his life for self-realization, he must be considered an Atmaha, a killer of the soul. The Sri Isoupanishad warns in clear terms that the killer of the soul is destined to enter into the darkest region of ignorance to suffer perpetually.
Okay, Atmaha and the Tamasa, which means the sloka is Tamasavrta. Andena Tamas. Andena means blind or darkness. Tamasavrta. Tamasavrta means the location or the place. Okay, it goes totally into the ignorant state. So we have to utilize the facility of that human form of body, and then perfectly. And also we have some nice teachers, nice acharyas like expert boatmen. Like, so this is again another analogy from examination point of view. 2 questions will be there. I think what is meant by Atmaha, and then analogy on material world with the boatman. Like that question is there. But just generally samsara sagaram. So this samsara sagar is so very difficult to cross. But if you have a nice boatman, he will be able to make us cross. Okay, so those points are mentioned. Okay. Yeah, let's finish it quickly. Read. Okay.
There are Hare Krishna. There are swine, dogs, camels, asses, etc., whose economic necessities are just as important to them as ours are to us. But the economic problems of these animals are solved only under nasty and unpleasant conditions. The human being is given all facilities for a comfortable life by the laws of nature because the human form of life is more important and valuable than human life. Why is man given a better life than that of the swine and other animals? Why is a highly placed government servant given better facilities than those of an ordinary clerk? The answer is that a highly placed officer has to discharge duties of a higher nature. Similarly, the duties human beings have to perform are higher than those of animals who are always engaged in simply feeding their hungry stomachs. Yet, the modern soul-killing civilization has only increased the problems of the hungry stomach. When we approach a polished animal in the form of a modern civilized man and ask him to take interest in self-realization, he will say that he simply wants to work to satisfy his stomach and that there is no need of self-realization for a hungry man. The laws of nature are so cruel, however, that despite his denunciation of the need for self-realization and his eagerness to work hard to fill his stomach, he is always threatened by unemployment. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, madam. Very nice. So, talking about the hogs, dogs, camels, etc., and then why a man is given a better facility or a better way of living conditions compared to all other. So, how does the living condition come? Is all through the intelligence, right? So, the same intelligence for other living beings, other animals, versus the intelligence provided by provided for the human beings, is being appropriately utilized. So, all the conditions are appropriately developed based on the particular intelligence for one particular purpose. Right? So, but unfortunately, that purpose is getting completely wrong and then getting into so many other activities. Okay. This analogy also very important. Okay, a modern soul killing civilization and a polished animal in the form of a civilized man. Okay, so you might look like very civilized, very well educated, but it's nothing but a polished animal. Okay, so they'll simply say, I'm not interested, I'm just only for my sense gratification or my this one. So even though he looks like an hungry person, there is this one. Okay, so okay, let's keep going. Next part. So why I'm making you, yeah, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Now, why I'm making you read is after this Bhakti Shastri, you will never even touch the isolation book. I bet on it. Okay, so that is why at least read one time the purports so that it will be easy. Or whenever there is a preaching need, then whenever there is a sloka you have to take it, then you can refer to this. That is why these points are very nice. So that is why I thought at least make you read so that it will help you. Go ahead, go ahead.
We are given this human form of life not to work hard like asses, swine, and dogs, but to attain the highest perfection of life. If we do not care for self-realization, the laws of nature force us to work very hard, even though we may not want to do so. Human beings in this age have been forced to work hard like the asses and bullocks that pulls carts. Some of the regions where the asuras are sent to work are revealed in this mantra of Sri Isoupanishad. If a man falls to discharge his duties as human being, he is forced to transmigrate to the Asurya planet and take birth in degraded species of life to work hard in ignorance and darkness.
Okay. Yeah, continue, bro.
In the Bhagavad Gita 6.41 to 43, it is stated that a man who enters upon the path of self-realization but does not complete the process despite having sincerely used to realize his relationship with God is given a chance to appear in family of Suchi or Srimad. The word Suchi indicates a spiritually advanced Brahmana and Srimad indicates Vaisya, a member of the mercantile community. So the person who fails to achieve self-realization is given a better chance in his next life due to his sincere efforts in this life. If even a fallen candidate is given a chance to take birth in a respectable and noble family, one can hardly imagine the status of one who has achieved success. By simply attempting to realize God, one is guaranteed birth in a wealthy or aristocratic family. But those who do not even make an attempt, who want to be covered by illusion, who are too materialistic and too attached to material enjoyment, must enter into the darkest regions of hell. As confirmed throughout the Vedic literature, such materialistic asuras sometimes make a show of religion, but their ultimate aim is material prosperity. The Bhagavad Gita 16.17 to 18 rebukes such men by calling them Atma Sambhavita, meaning that they are considered great only on the strength of deception and are empowered by the votes of the ignorant and by their own material wealth. Such asuras, devoid of self-realization and knowledge of Isavasya, the Lord's universal proprietorship, are certain to enter into the darkest region.
Thanks, Prabhu. So Bhagavad Gita 6:41, 43, what is that? Arjuna will ask this question, right? So what happens? Somebody is following Dhyana Yoga for a long time versus for somebody who has just started and then he falls down. Right? So Krishna answers that if somebody is performing the Dhyana Yoga on the path of realization, they will definitely get a better human birth, better life, Suchi and Srimad. So they will be able to get birth in a Brahminical family, and then they'll be able to get a wealthy family, and they'll be able to continue. So that is what Prabhupada is mentioning it here. So at least if he fails in his self-realization, he'll get a next birth. Okay, even if a fallen candidate, but most importantly, the attempt to realize the God is more important. Okay. So if somebody is not even attempting it, it means they are completely, this line is yours. So those who are not even making an attempt, okay? So this is more important. As preachers, as knowledgeable persons, all that we have to do is just to make an attempt to others. Even if they fail or even if they, that's okay. At least they have made an attempt, and in the next coming generations or by birth, at least they will learn. So Prabhupada will always say, you don't have to make them fully devotee. All that you have to make them is ask them to make an attempt. Then the rest of things will follow automatically. So if somebody is able to make an attempt, at least they will be. If somebody is not at all able to do, not at all willing to do make an attempt, okay, then nothing can be done. So they will be too materialistic, there will be too much material achievement, and then they will be in the Asura Bhava, and then finally they will be Atma Sambhavita, or they just outwardly they will say everything very nicely, but internally zero. So they will just fall down in this material. Okay. So two categories. One category is somebody who is making an attempt in self-realization, making certain endeavor. At least they will get some some sukriti, and then the next birth and next this one, they'll be able to continue. But if it's not at all making Adam, there's no other goal. So we have to make it very clear about it. Okay. Yeah, the conclusion is that human beings we are meant not simply for solving economic problems or on a tottering platform, but for solving problems of material individuals. This is again Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's point, right? When Prabhupada was asking about independence, we'll never get independence. Okay, the only independence is to come out of this material samsara saga. So nothing called solving all the material problems. Using nice word, tottering platform. What is tottering platform? Tottering platform is like if you go in a river or if in a boat, they'll make some plank sheets for us to just float. Okay, it will nicely float, but that floating is not like very stable floating. It will be like tottering here and there, this, that, but still you will feel like, oh, but you have to make sure that you are balanced very nicely in the tottering platform, in that what do you say? The plank, or in a kind of a makeshift wooden board, whatever be it. Right? So, for example, the other way of understanding tottering platform is the scuba diving or skydiving or whatever this one. So they have to manage through the waves, but at the same time ensure they don't fall down. Right? So very nice word, tottering platform. This this entire metal thing is kind of a tottering platform. So we have to just make sure here and there, and then just try to continue to survive. That's all. Okay. Let me see whether this is part of this lesson or we'll stop here. Lesson 1 to 3. Okay, I think we'll stop here, and then we'll quickly take a summary. Okay, so today we saw first sloka, second sloka, and third sloka. So what is the first sloka we saw is Ishavasyam Vidam Sarvam Yat Kinche Jagatyam Jagat. Okay, Tena Takyana Bunjita Magridav Kaschit Sodinam. So everything belongs to. There are two portions. Every sloka I'll give you a tip. Any sloka you mostly it will have either 2 divisions or 3 divisions. First 2 lines will talk about one particular perspective, and then based on that particular perspective, Krishna will give or the Acharya will give the output or a benefit on that particular action. Okay, second line. So that is why first thing, any Bhagavad Gita sloka you take, first 2 lines and the second 2 lines will have a different perspective to see. Okay, first is more of a rule and the regulation, and what is the outcome of that rule and regulation or a particular guideline. So for example, do this, you will get definitely this. If you don't do this, you will fall into this. You focus on this, you will definitely get this. So like this, every sloka is mostly, like if you take Bhagavad Gita, almost every type of sloka will have this kind of a point. Okay, so Ishavasyam. So first portion is about Ishavasyam, and second portion is about the kota. Okay. So this is what we saw. Everything. So I'm just summarizing today's session. Everything animate, inanimate is all within control with the Supreme Lord. So whatever is set aside for us as quota should be accepted, and other things should not be accepted. So everything. So Isha means by the Lord. Avasya means owned and complete. Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. Animate and inanimate. So there is nothing all belongs to Para and Apara. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. So in the particular sloka, Prabhupada mentioning about communism versus capitalism, right? So everything belongs to Krishna. So that is why Prabhupada is trying to bring both together. Capitalism means somebody is owning it. Who is owning it? Krishna is owning it. Communism means everything belongs to everybody. So Krishna is saying all these things are belonging to Krishna, but everything can be utilized for the service of Krishna based on the quota provided. So this Jivatma is also Sachidananda Vigraha, Sachidanandam. Why? That Anandam that is obtained from the source of the Anandam can also be utilized. So whatever we have it in our quota, we can enjoy. Okay, so this is Bhagavata communism. Everything belongs to Krishna. So we should not take anything neglectfully. Neither we should be careless to take care of Krishna's property, Krishna's living being, Krishna's house, Krishna's temple, Krishna's business, etc. So this is perfect Krishna consciousness. What is, so again, these are all, again, I'm repeating, whenever you get an opportunity to preach, use these words. So what is perfect Krishna consciousness? Perfect Krishna consciousness is the intelligence of understanding the Ishavashyam philosophy. Okay. Tena tektena bunjito. Okay. By him set apart quota, you should accept. So we have discussed this, right? National, international, local level, what current affairs. Actually, I think mostly we all know. I think we don't have to get into this. Lower form of stage, nothing to be done. So that is what we have seen. Can somebody find out what is altruist? No, find it out. This portion of living for 100 years also we saw. So the killer of soul, Atma Iha. This example we saw, right? So perfectly constructed boat is our human body. Captain is the spiritual master and favorable wind. So instruction of the, so based on the wind movement and by the instruction of the captain or by the towing of the captain, then that boat can successfully cross the ocean. Again, this is from Bhagavatam 11:20-17. Atmaha. Atmaha is equal to under tamas. Under tamas means darkness, the dark well or whatever we want to call. Personal application, I think you will be able to understand, right? Tene tektene bunjita. So in our own lives, we can apply. From current affairs, such circumstances where issues could be applied. So where we can apply in any situation, any circumstance we can. Okay, I'll give you what from Isoupanishad, one open book assignment is there. So let's see what I will try to give. So second sloka is all about the karma portion, right? Karma, akarma, and vikarma. So then we have slokas 4 to 8, and then